is the Lugari Member of Parliament. Join us. Arnold Mao is the Head of Policy and Public. Of course, our newspaper review, their own publication, that is the People Daily. Splashes of the skunk in 104 billion UHC tech upgrade. There is an image there of the Health Cabinet Secretary, that is Deborah Mulongo Baraza. This even, of course, as the SHA rollout has entered day 3 today. On page 6 of the People Daily, about, of course, the story, is MPs yesterday put the Health Ministry on the spot of a suspected inflation of the information technology system for the universal healthcare, that is the UHC project, from the initial, mark this, 700 million to a whopping 104 billion Kenya shillings. The MPs questioned the ministry's procurement process of the integrated health information technology system, a vital component of the UHC initiative, citing insufficient public participation in the process. Lawmakers criticized the government for opting to single source an expensive ICT system, pointing out stark cost disparities. They actually noted that while the National Health Insurance Fund, that is the NHIF, required just 700 million to upgrade its ICT infrastructure, the government is seeking 104 billion for a new system. Honorable Nabina Bwera. From 700 million, a system that will cost taxpayers, of course, money is only 700 million Kenya shillings, will now procure it at 104 billion Kenya shillings. You're a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Just looking at these, are you reading malice? Could there be graft already budgeted for?
I think, to our viewers, good morning. And I want to say a number of things. Number one, that there is a Committee of Health which has already pronounced itself on this matter. And at this stage, it is not consist of our committee, Public Accounts Committee, but the Health Committee of the National Assembly has literally declared the process a sham. And the questions they have raised they have not been answered by the ministry and the executive, and therefore they brought it to the floor of the House, and the members of the committee were very, very particular that they see a scheme to defraud the Kenyan public of money. Yesterday, I was speaking to some insiders in Ministry of Health who know this system, and they say it's the same system they are using. There's nothing which has changed. It is the same system they are using to. It's actually the NHIF system renamed, given a new name.
Mm-hmm. So even the 700 million that was set, of course, for an upgrade will be more than sufficient, because already the NHIF one is working.
That's it. But there are more legal issues and critical operational issues that one would want to look at. Number one, the ministry wants to give us one system that takes all Kenyan data, you and me, everyone, repost it in a place we don't know, from level 1, which is the dispensary in my village, to level 7, Kenyatta National Hospital. That is a disaster. And what is worrying to me, that the ministry is unable to tell us who exactly is this person who would be holding Kenyan data. What happens to him if we ceased or to exist. The second issue about this health thing, you can be, I can always say, don't run, don't chase the shadow. That 104 billion is a shadow. The really problem here is benefits. Effective 1st of October, money will be collected from Kenyans. Billions of shillings every month. But look at the benefits. They have even downgraded the benefits of NHIF. Just a few minutes ago, when you were reading news, you saw the Council of Governors are up in arms. You saw patients in Nakuru complaining in Eldoret they cannot now afford dialysis. They cannot afford medicine for diabetes. Lifelong diseases, under this scheme, you are actually garbage. You will not live because you don't have the money to do that. So, one wonders, you are charging so much, you are taking so much from the public, and you are downgrading the benefits. So what is the essence of, why didn't we just continue with the NHIF? The last issue which I want to raise, which is concerning me personally and many Kenyans, I woke up one morning and yesterday, and I was being told, I read on my phone that I've been transferred to, I'm now registered with the share. That's not what the law says. The law says I need to register myself. So I need to
register you without your consent.
Yes, I need to make a decision. Which decision I had made, I'm also going to belong to the scheme. I'm better off having my own private scheme. So it's an issue I'm going to handle. Yeah.
Well, Kimani Mwenge, even as today is the third day, of course, of the Social Health Authority rollout, already it's emerging that in the systems that could cost Kenyans only 700 million Kenya shillings, a whopping 104 billion will be spent on the same. Is this now becoming apparent that SHA is a sham?
I like the title that the PD has given it, the skunk in the 104 billion. This is even worse than a skunk because, firstly, it's good to note that NHIF has been in existence for 58 years, serving Kenyans. And while it is true that it has had some issues with corruption and the pilferage of funds, I don't think NHIF was such a bad thing that we needed to wake up one day and abandon it completely. What we needed to do, in my opinion, was to upgrade it, to improve it, so that it can meet our needs in a better way. SHA, when I read about SHA, the chief, and all the funds that are intended, the laws, seems like a very good thing in the long run. It has, in my opinion, expanded the services that NHIF was offering. You know, until 2015, NHIF was offering one broad service, the inpatient. The amendment of 2015 made it offer 10 more services. And in 2018, the president gave a task force of experts to look into it, and they made 55 recommendations. What I think is we needed to look at these 55 recommendations that were given, implement them not at once, but by phases. The need to buy a 104 billion, you know, I was looking at that figure and I was imagining, do you know that even Safaricom, which is with two others, are the ones coming up with this system, that the asset base of Safaricom is about 286 billion. So we are talking of a system that is going to cost Kenyans almost 40% of the asset base of the giant as we know it. So this is too much money. What kind of a system can cost a country 1 or 4 billion shillings?
Not even
I'm even looking at it that the Kenyatta University Referral Hospital cost us 8.2 billion to build, capacity build, and even equip it.
So we could build more than even 10 such hospitals.
More than 10 such hospitals with this system.
And they even have their own systems.
And by the way, they already have their systems to run the hospital. And this is besides that we have a functional system in NHIF. So when you think about this figure, it is not only infuriating to imagine that people in the Ministry of Health could even think about it, that at a time when we have patients who can't access services because of the hiccups of this immediate or abrupt shift from NHIF to SHA, and then at the same time when we are told that the government has borrowed over 208 billion within 3 months, then we are coming up with a system of 1 or 4 billion when all we needed with NHIF is to upgrade it with 700 million. I think we have people who need to really sit down and rethink what they are doing and whether they are for themselves or for us. It isn't something we shouldn't be talking about. We should be talking of upgrading of NHF and improvement of it face by face to eventually arrive at the benefits that SHA promises.
There is now cropping up maybe a tendency where we now have this single sourcing thing. Is this single sourcing actually one that will ail these countries, especially procurement, sector?
Yeah.
Or process?
Before I deal with this issue of single sourcing, from where I see it, one as a member of parliament, a Kenyan citizen, and a member of the Public Accounts Committee, I want to weigh in on something my colleague has just alluded to. A group of young people based in China, very good young ICT graduates from Kenya, young people who went to China. 2 of them, when I was the chief of staff Kakamega County, I sponsored them to go and do degree, and they remained did masters. They looked at this and they wrote on X and said, look, give us 1 billion, we will give you a system that is new, agile, and managed by Kenyans. They said, you don't need to pay us, just sign with us an agreement. We deliver a system, we operationalize it, then you will pay us. I mean, that is, those are boys in the trade. And as you well know, China is 20 years ahead of everybody in the world on ICT. If you don't know, Chacha, almost everything in China now runs on AI, artificial intelligence. So the boys were saying, look, we love our country despite the fact that we are experts out here. Give us an opportunity. You don't need to lose that money. And they even gave timeline. They said it will not take them 3 months. At most, 24 days.
And deliver 1 billion system instead of 100.
And they say, don't pay. Continue running on what you are running on. Don't pay. Just give us the specs. We develop for you a system. We operationalize the system. Pay us.
Allow me to also introduce Arnold Maliba. Thank you so much for getting time. He's the head of policy and public affairs at the UDA party. Thank you so much for getting time this morning.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, there's a very good reason why this country developed a procurement law. And even more so, why the Constitution requires that anything you do for public good must be as open as possible. Chacha, the moment you go single sourcing, there are three things that arise. Number one, you are denying the country an opportunity to get the best.
So it's no longer competitive.
It's no longer competitive, so you can't get the best. Secondly, you are denying the country to get value for money. Because you have no comparative specs in terms of cost. And thirdly, you are encouraging fraud. So this war on corruption can never end for as long as we are doing single sourcing. You know, I sit in Parliament and I can tell you, I've seen documents on this issue of the airport. We had even a better person who had provided a proposal.
We'll actually be touching on that Adani matter.
Yes.
Just later on.
So all I'm saying, as a country, we cannot be fighting our own constitution. We cannot be fighting our own laws. Yes.
Well, Arnold, just your opening remarks on these. MPs are criticizing sourcing for 104 billion UHC IT system. There was an initial proposal at the NHIF where an upgrade of its ICT infrastructure would have costed taxpayers only 700 million Kenya shillings. But now it's a jump from 700 million Kenya shillings to 104 billion Kenya shillings. And also the issue of single sourcing. It has been applied more in this government compared to the previous government. We also had the issue of even money printing that was so classified. Are we going to classify or single source almost everything in this country that involves billions of shillings?
I think as a country we are at a cusp of time where literally openness and our membership to the Open Government Partnership, the OGP, really serving its purpose. One of those things that we are happy as a political party is that we are having much more robust conversation and engagement on the management of public affairs than before seen. Now, of course, if you look at 104 billion shillings for a system, the one thing that we must actually come up clearly and explain is that the people at the Ministry of Health are not doing very good communication on this particular issue. Because after I sought an explanation on why this was so much, I was told that it included equipment, the endpoint equipment that will be used on the other side. And we are asking these issues because why then do we have to get to places where we are asking hard questions like this before they are able to explain bit by bit? They take so long, and that in and of itself, immediately you look like you're trying to hold back information, then you end up with questions and suspicions because again, governments in the past and governments by nature have got a trust deficiency. People approach government programs from a place where you're looking at it with suspicion. So I think the people at the Ministry of Health, the people at Social Health Authority now need to come out and explain robustly. They've left it to politicians in Parliament to do explaining, and I think that is a failure, especially on the side of the people who are implementing this. It's for them to speak out. Whether people are asking hard questions like Honorable Nabwera is asking here this morning or not, his business will be to ask, and their business, whether they like it or not, is to explain and explain well. Second thing is that single sourcing in and of itself is not wrong because it's in our laws. If it weren't in the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, then we would actually say we are breaking the law. Of course, the preponderance of using it repeatedly, especially in mega projects, raises questions. But then again, do you really need for provision of public goods and services really to give it to people who have not done it before? If you do not have an equivalent... I believe those who still apply for these tenders have done it before. Yes.
So why not make it competitive if at all it's then...
Yes, that is the biggest question. And again, that is why I would say the people who are handling these owe Kenyans an explanation. We do not have to milk it out of them. That is a challenge. We should not be milking it out of them. some of the problems
so
we have
this
today,
morning that there is need, first of all, to not even pay the monies.
there is need to explain clearly. I know that, of course, this particular program has had a little bit of challenge. First of all, Parliament passed the 4 pieces of legislation around this program, and there was serious, of course, litigation. Again, you cannot blame that, because we as a people of Kenya gave ourselves the Constitution 2010, and when people go out there to ensure that everything is above board, you do not question them for that. But then, of course, with the speed with which we wanted to implement this, we realized that we've been around this mountain for long. They mean well, the intentions are good. But you see, even the road to hell is actually punctuated with very good intentions. So, finally, I would love to say this, that for everything, actually from where we sit as Kenya Kwanza and UDA specifically, is that we know that if this SHIF and SHA project is implemented properly, if we are able to make it land as intentioned, then it will earn us a re-election without even fighting back. I think the management of transition is a problem. A few things that would actually have been good diagnostics would actually have told us that when you are doing migration, these are the challenges that will be there. And because this is about health, you know, with health, you don't say that, okay, you can go without food, tomorrow we will actually get you food. There are people, if they missed out medication, if they missed out on some processes, then it becomes too dangerous to them. That's what I'm saying. The management of transition, in and of itself, we are not going to hold back. We will say that we do not think that it was done satisfactorily. And the people in that particular sector, again, should not hold for those of us who are doing political communication in the party to come out and explain this for them. They are the technical people. And I think as a party, we are growing tired, specifically with a number of technocrats and people in government who literally don't want to communicate.
So it's a communication issue.
Yeah,
also.
Because a lot of times, why should we have people coming out here milking explanations to them, and then you go out there and find that all along they had the communication, they had the information, but then when you bring information belatedly, why should I trust you? And this is public information.
Well, I'm also throwing the question, of course, to Kimani Mwangi, but before that, on the Daily Nation, it has also captured this SHIF nightmare.
Yes. Just something. Director has touched on Rona. Director, I really sympathize with the head of state of this country. I think he has square pegs in round holes in many places. It is true what Director is saying, that the management of transition is a big issue. Not only here. I sit in the education committee. We are in total trouble over a very small issue which we would have managed. Even in this health, they did not provide, like you have seen those people who of lifelong diseases, like people of dialysis. If I was the one running the Ministry of Health, I would say these people will run on NHIF until the system stabilizes.
Well, we are due for a short commercial break. On the Daily Nation,
because they are now dying. Across
the country, there is a SHIF nightmare. Across the country, patients are enduring a medical crisis of unspeakable horror. Their up-to-date NHF cards have been disabled, while the new health care plan, that is the SHIF, is yet to take off due to rollout glitches. Kimani Mwangi, given us to take a break. Yes. On the issue of single sourcing, and as well, you know, NHF cards are no longer working. Is it time first we allow them to work until the other system works? That is sharp.
You know, matters health are issues that we cannot postpone. We could even tell students, hey, hold on, you can be late in reporting to your institutions in a week. But you can't tell somebody who has to undergo 3 sessions of dialysis in a week that for this 1 week, you either have to get the 27,000s in the public hospitals, or you have to postpone it, because it is a matter of do or die. Now, what ought to have been done is very simple. Allow these people with functional NHIF cards to continue accessing services until such a time when the managers of SHA are well aware that it has transitioned successfully and completely. It is only then that you should disable the cards. It is even common sense. Now, the level of apathy in, as my brother here is explaining, there is some level of apathy among government state officers that cannot be tolerated. You know, so I wonder, how do you go to your home in the evening? You are the one who manages SHA. You disabled people's NHIF cards, and then you see what is happening, and you are able to sleep and wake up and report to work tomorrow. We shouldn't allow such people to work for us. Well, that level of apathy should never be allowed anywhere near public offices. Well, at that juncture, we take a short commercial break, but I also invite your feedback about social media platforms at K24 TV at Joel Chacha, as well as SMS and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of your screens. When we come back, we'll focus on the state of the nation, including the public participation exercise on the impeachment of the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. We'll be right back with that conversation. Stay tuned.
When it's a Saturday, there's only